If you could establish quorum, please.
Are all up? If you could turn on your mics, board. Are all members on your board doc site?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Yes, I am.
Okay, can I get a motion to set the agenda?
Move to set the agenda.
Second. Deb, I'm ready for the question.
Online voting is now available. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, we have the Ute Mountain Ute Tribe Education Department here for a presentation. Welcome, ladies.
Good evening. How are you?
Good. How are you this evening?
Is your mic on over there?
I think it is now. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay, so my name is Alicia Whitehead. I've been with the Ute Mountain Youth Education Department for 22 years. It shows.
So green light's on. How about now?
Oh, Mr. Ramirez says it's working. He can trade you.
Test.
I told you we don't.
Just start it up.
Is that better? You're not supposed to be here. Okay, how's that? Any better? Okay. Hey. Okay, so we'll start over. So I'm Alicia Whitehead. I've been with the Ute Mountain Ute Indian Tribe for 22 years, serving for education department.
Hello, everyone. My name is Olivia Claw, and I'm the K-12 Education Director for the Ute Mountain Tribe. I've been here for a year now.
So I have connections with the district, so I got on this on the agenda without letting Tom know. But I was swore that it was only positive, and it is only positive. And we're making some changes to where we want to share the positive news, so it's not always negative or during the IPP meetings. So we'll keep it short. A couple of things I want to point out. July 30th of this year, we did the Toy Off Open House, which I believe is the first time we've ever done that. We had Leland Collins there. We had the superintendent, assistant superintendent, IT. We had schools, principals. Just to, if they want to register their child. I'm old school. I don't like to do this online stuff, so it was really nice to bring it down to Toyoak. I talked to some of the RE-1 staff a week after that, and they were like very excited, and they want to do it again every year. So I think it's something we should plan on doing. Parents could ask questions. And I had one of my kiddos said, "Is that Mr. Burrs? He looks young." I said, "You need to get your eyes checked." That was like 20 years ago when she had him at the principal. So it's nice to see that connection. We do appreciate that. And then Friday on August 16th, we had the indigenous students training for the district. And I know it wasn't, I think some people wanted more detail, but the whole goal was an overview with the partnership with RE-1, the Ute Tribe, and CDE. And now throughout the year, we want to do smaller sessions, like maybe just the elementary, then the middle, then the high school, really get into how to work with our students better. What can we offer? So it was a nice overview. A compliment we did receive from Letitia Taylor, who just retired from Southern Ute. She said, "I would love to help this district as much as I can." So that was a huge compliment because it's free. They don't charge. CDE doesn't charge. But I do want a big shout out to a lot of people that might not get recognized. It's like your IT department. Mark, Darcy are wonderful. We have a great rapport with Lisa Wheeler, Teresa, Olivia Lancey, they've just been very supportive. And I appreciate that. So we're just trying to work on our communications. And let's celebrate all year round, not just once a year. So then I know Olivia has some words.
Okay, so, first of all, I wanted to say thank you to the bus department, the bus garage, Brad and his team, Bill, Vonda, John, Yolanda, and Terry. They all drive down to Toyoak and they have a tough job and they work hard to get the kids here safe and sound. So I really appreciate them. So thank you to the bus garage. And then throughout the school year last year, I really didn't know what to expect coming into the district. And the schools really welcomed me and Drew and the high school. And then I'm working my way into the elementary school. So I like that open communication, the open door policy you guys had, and I really appreciate that. So thank you. And then just your counselors and your team. So they're very supportive and thank you. And then also going back to the open house, I appreciate the principals coming down and meeting with parents, answering their questions. And then thank you, Tom and Eddie for coming down also and being supportive, and Lisa and Teresa. So, and then I'm thankful that you guys you have a Native American director, Olivia Lansing. Last year, she's really helped us with the schools and students, just identifying who's Native American and who needs help. And we're working together to get students on track for credits to graduate. And so we're really focusing on that. And then just the overall, the communication's great. So, and just I feel welcomed into the school. So thank you. And then circling back to the cultural awareness training last Friday. The conversation really started with the Indian education stakeholder meeting back in March. Lisa and Teresa were there at the Indian education meeting up in Fort Collins. And they had different presenters, and the National Indian of Education Association was there. And then Hunter was there and he presented. And that's really how it all started, was back in March, that whole conversation about that. And then it just rolled into that staff training last Friday. And yes, we would like to do smaller sessions and just bring more awareness to the schools and answer teachers' questions. And teachers also have good ideas, and just that's what I wanted to say was thank you.
We are a very small department. When I first started, I think there was 14 staff, we're down to 5. So we're spread pretty thin. We're trying as hard as we can. Do you guys have any questions for us? I mean, I know we're just right into the school year, just starting, but I don't know if you guys have any concerns, questions at this time. Did you guys receive any feedback about the Toyoak open house, Tom?
I have.
You want to
It
elaborate?
went very well. Yeah, we had all kinds of great comments. The people down there, great comments. It was a good interaction.
And I know the first day of school, I was at the high school and I thought, oh my gosh, the kids are just getting their schedules. But I gotta tell you, Jennifer Boniface did a great job interacting with the kids for an hour. It went really smooth. I was pretty shocked because last year was a madhouse. And so we're starting off better. I'm trying to be more communicative. I know you and I've had conversations about that. I do listen sometimes. Not all the time, but you know that, you know me forever. But it went really smooth. I was surprised by that. And I think between just everybody getting comfortable with each other and then the open house that we had, I think made a huge difference. I just want to keep, I think since Lori Hotness, we haven't had anybody stable enough in this position. The same with Eddie. I mean, Eddie carries you, Tom. I'm sorry. But you know that. So I mean, it keeps, keeps us going. So But we just wanted to thank you guys for the support. Leland, I appreciate the job you're doing up here. You were there for us. I appreciate that. So
Yeah, I had to just, you guys are doing a good job at starting and with only with the little bit of people that you guys have. And, I would say it's a start, from where we're coming from and stuff, and I like it that, we went down there and, had that little group meeting and stuff like that at the park and stuff. It was very good. And, I'd like to see more of that also. And, to clarify, where do you do your job at? Is it just a high school for yours, or is yours the elementary also?
my type's K through 12, but Leland, I'm deathly afraid of elementary kids. Like, they just scare me. They can eat my lunch. So I primarily like the middle and high school. And then I will help out anywhere that I'm needed. Olivia does better with the little guys. So we're constantly in communication, but whatever child, once they saw a release of information, like we have two IEPs that just came out of nowhere this week that we need to take care of. So just any child that needs help once they have assigned release and they reside in 12. They don't have to be tribal.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate it. And if you guys do, because I know sometimes it's hard for the parents to reach out to you guys to Sarah is always willing to sit in the IEP meetings too, because I understand sometimes they ain't ran all the same way and stuff. And I always wanted to bring that out there and say, she is willing to sit in the IEPs if you guys need for the younger kids and stuff like that too. We're always willing to help out, reach out that olive branch to help you guys out and stuff too. So just letting you guys know that we're there to support you guys too.
Need all the help we can get.
Yes.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Before you sit down, I have a question,
Yes.
kind of a sideline to what you're talking about, and you don't have to answer tonight. You could actually take some time and put your comments in an email and send it to the board. But what I'm wondering is, one of the things that the board is supposed to do is solicit input from the community as to their values and what they believe in and what they'd like to see for the district. And to this point, I'm a newbie, but to this point, I haven't learned of a good way to do that. And so from your perspective, if you could at some point email us with some ideas that you have that we could use in order to be successful at that, I would really appreciate it.
Excuse me, like, is in like the Navajo language and then it's in English. Is that what you're referring to?
No,
No? Okay.
actually,
Those are hanging up in the high school. That's what I was wondering.
yeah, I don't know about that.
Are you talking about like how to get parents and the community just to answer, like maybe like on a survey form, or how to go about that, like digitally or paper? Or
I think that's what he's trying to go back, is to go back to like the community and get the comments and stuff like that from the parents and stuff like that. I think that's what he's really trying to reach out, see how we can help Koyak better, with their answers and questions and stuff, like a survey. If you guys want to get a survey out to their parents or something like that we could do to help,
so
answer questions.
Georgina Owens, who's the with the CDE, like 2 months ago, I think she reached out to us, and she wanted the community to do a Colorado Needs Survey assessment for Indigenous students. And the way we did it was we printed out the survey copies for them and they did it, and then we went back and entered it into the computer for them. So it was anonymous, right? Anonymous. That was one way we did it, and they got from our area like 450 surveys turned in. So that was a big number for them.
And that surveys, would you be able to share that with us?
We can ask Georgina to share that. Yeah, we'll ask her to see. It won't tell us if it was a Cortez family or if it was a Florida family, but the area is 450. And one problem we have since you're a newbie is the internet service is horrible down in Toyoak. So the kids tell you, we don't have the internet. They're not lying to you. We finally just got ours working again. So we can help out in there. We also purchased through the ESSER grant, we purchased our marquee sign that's two-sided. So if Deb Ramsey sends me information, then we post it up on that sign for the parents. So the bus stop's right there.
The last time I saw that sign, it said Montezuma-Cortez app, get the app.
That's right. We made it all bold. So, and it helps like with your weather. If it's poor weather and Tom's like, hey, we're calling it today, then we can automatically get on there and let them know that. So that's been I think a huge benefit. It's just for educational needs. So, but that's one of the issues too. But if you guys have a survey you need filled out, just have Deb shoot it out to us and we'll go door to door or find a way to do that. So that's
Thank you.
never a problem, okay?
Thanks.
And the internet thing, I'm working on that right now, as I just barely started working there a couple of weeks ago, so we're trying to get that figured out and stuff, and lay the fiber optics around Toyoak and stuff.
So about 2 years till we got all that.
Yeah, so it'd be something like that before it really got up and going. Right now, we're trying to work with trying to do the buildings and get that going first. And I say lesser than that with the businesses and stuff like that. It's with the community, but about 2 years will be, should be up and ready and running and stuff.
We use our imagination. You know, last year we used her personal phone with a hotspot and we're doing.
Yeah, I don't know what the problem is. We have a lot of dead spots out there in Toyoak and stuff. And so even at my house, it's like dead spot and only barely getting any service and stuff. So with the line, it should be a lot better.
Right. You have any other questions? Deb, thank you for putting us on the agenda and not spilling our secret.
No
I like to
problem.
make
Thank
Tom
you.
sweat.
I appreciate working with you, and one of my objectives when I came back is I knew several of the council members and you. And so working together has been a joy. Thank you. And I depend on Olivia to carry you, you know, it's the way it is. The last Friday's event was really good at the high school. A lot of good comments about that. Yeah, being down at Toyoak, that was a good session. Lots of good comments. So working together is good.
Yep.
Thank you.
And yes, you have your own staff to thank for that. Lisa and Teresa also.
Drew wasn't there, but the other person will work.
Thank you, ladies, for attending tonight and presenting. Thank you. All right, so we have the Montezuma School to Farm Project. Welcome.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ryan Marbley, Montezuma School to Farm Project, garden educator. First of all, I'd like to introduce some new AmeriCorps members to you all. They came from all over the country, and we've got a really talented group of people with various talents. So we're excited to have them here. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, really excited to have these guys in our community. We've got diverse group of skills, and so excited to work with them. So I came to Cortez a couple years ago, and I was working at the middle school as a science teacher. One of the first things I saw was the massive garden that we have here in Cortez at the middle school, and I was excited to learn more about what goes on there. There wasn't a whole lot that I did with my students the first year at the middle school in the garden. They would pick apples occasionally whenever there's an opportunity to. And like post field trip, it was cool to walk around to see what was going on. Got to know the school to farm staff. And so started to connect with those guys more. And last year, I heard about an opportunity to be the education coordinator or garden educator for the district. And I started in July. And so I'm excited to work with our students in Cortez now as a garden educator. I think one thing that I really appreciate about the position is students get to work in the gardens, and also they get to cover educational topics in the gardens too. And so we can do math in the gardens, and so there's cross-curricular activities that we can do. So it's not just garden tasks. So we can work on counting apples, for example, would be an easy thing to think about. What else? So I know that Mesa and Kemper have been doing this for quite a while. I'm excited this year. I'm going to be working with Michelle Waltman. And so all of her sixth graders are going to be coming out once a month during the fall to take garden classes. And yeah, what else do you want to talk about, Sorrel? I'm new to the position, and so Sorrel's been here for a while, and she's here to support me.
Hi, I'm Sorrel Redford. I've been with School to Farm for 3 years now, and previous to that, I was teaching a little bit in this district. Ryan and I both have our teacher licenses, and just wanted to talk a little bit about some successes from last year. So we put together an end of year feedback report, which we do every year, and I meet with Tom and go over kind of all the details. And inside that report is feedback from all the teachers at Mesa and Kemper that filled out our end of year and mid-year surveys, which kind of guide everything we do. So a big part of us existing is to support all the teachers and students in the district. So we really try and cater everything to meet the needs of everybody. It's not like just the garden program. All the lessons are standards aligned. Like Ryan said, it's very cross-curricular, and then we're expanding into middle school this year. So it's kind of a long report. I don't want to go through the whole thing. But if you have a chance to look at it, there's a lot of just written feedback from teachers, which really gives kind of their opinion and view of the program, which I think is pretty exciting and like motivating for us. I think the other things we wanted to just touch on is that this year, with Ryan being new, it's allowed us to kind of expand into middle school and really use his expertise. So like he said, we're going to be teaching Michelle Waltman's class once a month. So they'll be receiving the same amount of garden time and education that the elementaries are receiving. And I've also talked to Tom about any food that we have kind of extra going into the schools more directly. So right now, everything we grow is used either in tastings in our classes, and most of it goes to the food pantry in Cortez. So there's still a lot of food to be distributed wherever it's needed. And so if that is something that you are interested in, we definitely want to work together to kind of check that box. Maybe what else? Most of everything. Well, I was just going to say, I want to make sure we have enough time if anyone has any questions about what we do, because I know a lot of you are newer, and we've been working in this district for quite a long time, but I just want to make sure kind of all clear on what we do and why we do it.
So your classes that you said, like the sixth grade coming over, is that like an all day thing then when they come over?
So they'll each come over for an hour. So it's in their kind of, I think it's their like elective block in the morning. So we'll see one class after the other all day, once a month.
And then the food you said you produce, the bulk of it goes to the food pantry, you said? Where does, and then how do you determine what's left over that comes to the district or what?
Well,
I guess.
the pantry, they work with a lot of different farmers and ranchers all across the county. And so our office is in that building. So it's really easy to communicate and be like, oh, do you have enough produce this week to fill your shelves? And they'll either say like yes or no. So I mean, we grow a lot of food. We produced over 6,000 pounds just at the middle school last year. So a lot of it's storage crops as well, which helps. Yeah.
So I guess just something anecdotally, whenever we had opportunities over the last couple of years to go out in the gardens with students, I saw some students light up that hadn't been excited all year. So many students don't have access to food that's nutritious and fresh. in this area. And I saw a student last week who was talking with one of our counselors, and she loved the garden so much last year. That was how I connected with her. And she was going to talk with the counselor. And I told her she should go to the garden and grab whatever's in there. And so strawberries are what kids love. That's an easy thing that everybody connects with. And I saw that same student and the counselor walking out of the garden, and she was so excited to see me and tell me she loved the strawberries. So we're a small organization, and we're expanding to the middle school, and we want to continue to work with more of the students in this district. But one of the reasons that I took this position was I saw the impact that it had with students. And so I'm really excited to be here.
Sorrel, this document is available on our board docs to the public if the
Okay.
community wants to view it.
Oh, that'd be great. And then we have an event planned at the middle school in collaboration with Pueblo Seed Food Company. Do you want to, it's kind of Ryan's big event.
I was excited about it. I think the middle school space is awesome. Like I've been saying, yeah, Pueblo Seed and Food Company, they're going to be donating some green chilies and bread for a fall harvest event on September 21st from 10 to 12. And we also want to encourage people to come out and just tour the garden. We want it to be more of a community thing, and we want to, I feel like there's sometimes a divide. I want a little bit more collaboration with what goes on in our gardens. What else do I want to say about that? Yeah, you guys should all come. We have flyers here. We just printed off 40. Alan helped. I only did 10, then Alan did some more for us. But yeah, it'd be really great if you guys would come. And I know there's yeah, I just want everybody to know about what goes on in the garden. It'd be fun to eat with everybody too. So that's from 10 to 2 on September 21st. Got a flyer up here.
I will definitely take your flyer and put it through the system.
You're awesome. Thanks, Deb.
I have a question. Can you estimate approximately how many hours per week that you interact with the students, whether you're teaching or
Great. Yeah.
touring or whatever?
Awesome. Thanks for that question. Do we have that, Sorrel? Okay. Yeah.
So we teach every class once a month. So it'd be like every kindergarten class sees us once a month for 7 months of the year. So it would be about between Mesa and Kemper, probably a good 10 hours a week. And then if we add the middle school, that would bump it up a bit. It's like they get a 45-minute lesson once a month, every class. Yeah.
Thanks.
And then I should add, we are in the gardens a lot, just doing garden work. And so loads of students come out to help us with that, especially a lot of ESS students will come out and take breaks with us and do some garden chores. And so it's probably a lot more time with students than just the teaching lessons.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you guys for the beautiful flowers.
you're welcome.
Flyers.
Thank you for presenting tonight, and I wish I'd have worn my t-shirt that you have on tonight. Yeah. Thank you. All right. Wait for them to kind of get out of here. Okay. Okay, moving on to reports, celebration reports. Does anybody have anything they want to celebrate at the moment?
Jennifer goes out there.
Oh, go ahead, respond, Dr. Boniface.
Just like to say Nick Sander, our theater teacher, won Colorado Theater Teacher of the Year recently, so. Round of applause. It's good.
Yep, well deserved.
And he's going to be here in a bit too. So
Yeah.
we invited him tonight. So.
Yep.
So,
No, you're fine. No, it's fine.
You're allowed to be proud.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm actually
Yeah.
surprised he hasn't gotten it most years.
Mhm.
Okay, all right, moving. Okay. Student representatives, looking like we don't have any this evening, so we will skip that. We'll go to the superintendent's report.
Good evening, board. I would first like to welcome Justin Smith. Mr. Smith is our new Human Resources Director. Comes to us from a principalship position. I appreciate what you've done so far in just a short time. Thank you very much, Justin. There was a comment made at the last board meeting about PCC classes, and I looked into what we spent with PCC and how many credits our kids earned last year. And you've got to understand there's two different things. If a kid goes out to PCC, we pay tuition and we don't get that back. But if a kid takes PCC classes with our teachers, we don't pay tuition, but there is a back and forth about money. So last year we spent with PCC $165,640, and the tuition reimbursement classes were $76,420. And we had a total of 1,349 credits that were given by PCC to our kids. We are on the same trajectory for this year. The latest with Christine Fisher is she will be here, they will be here. She's not going to be here. The people fixing the play structure at the middle school will be here the 29th and 30th. I'm excited, Jim, to have CMAS data tonight. I won't go any further. We have been in contact with the lawyers about the HVAC system, and Diane Wolfson is setting up a meeting with the contractors and our lawyers and our expert witness, their expert witness and their lawyers. Hopefully that's this month. We have received preliminary report from Joseph LaRovere, and he is in the conversation with us about the condition of those units. I met with Meg Donaldson from CDE. She actually fronts for the BEST grant. She was disappointed that we didn't go for both of those, said maybe next year. Thank you all for your attendance at the convocation. That was great to see you there. The roofing project here is almost done. They were down on the south end of the building today. We also, by Joseph LaRovere, we engaged him for the system at the high school. As you know, we have a geothermal system, and that water in that system has not been treated since the building was built, and he's going to design a treatment system for the building. You do have a ballot resolution in your board packet to approve tonight. I would like to inform the community that there's a company by the name of On Time Sports who has gotten into the school district, and they go to businesses asking for $2,500, and they will give the school district, I believe, $250 worth of shirts. I've tried the last 2 years to get out of this. I'm unable. The contract was signed by a person not authorized to sign contracts, but we are still being held to that contract. So we will put this on our Facebook page and on our website. We do not encourage anybody to engage with On Time Sports. And just a update, we're working along on the paperwork for a separation from San Juan Boces. That is due September 1st.
Any questions for Mr. Burris?
Thank you, board.
All right, moving on to the Assistant Superintendent's report, Mr. Ramirez.
President. Staff, any questions that you want to have?
Any questions on his report? Okay. All right, Executive Director of Finance report, Ms. Bradford.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Burris. My report has been attached for your review. I have had one donation come into the district since I submitted my report, so I wanted to share that. Montezuma Hearing Clinic has donated $900 to the Montezuma-Cortez choir program. So that is not in my report, but we are grateful for that donation, and I wanted to share that information. Our office has been busy with our audit that has started. We are working on our grants funds first, the federal grants funds. We are expecting to be done with our audit late October, early November. Cash handling training is going well. We've provided 2 so far, and we have some individuals interested in helping to facilitate that. So I believe that's all of the updates I have at this time. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bradford. Okay, to Executive Director of Student Academic Services report, Mr. Parr.
Good evening, board. As Mr. Burris said, I do have some data that I'm going to share with you this evening in the form of state assessment data. But before, we start that, what I would like to do is have our principals report on summer school. Each campus conducted a summer school this summer, and I just want to let them give you kind of the lowdown on how things went. So we can start. Oh, Dr. Boniface is in the hot seat over there. So.
Yep, and can you put the mic back up there? I doubt the recording's catching everything. Thank you.
All right, I had printouts for you and they remain at the high school in the printer. That's okay, I can share with you. So we did have 131 credits completed in summer school. It was, I think, our most successful year yet with summer school. Last year, we relied on an online program, and I just wasn't a fan of how that rolled out. So this year, teachers taught actual units with either essays, projects, or assessments as the end result. And kids, I think, were much more successful in learning, occurred more than with the online program. So we did come out with 131 credits. It really helped some of those kids get back on track. We didn't have any discipline issues other than sort of minor, some talk back, some attendance, not working, but none of the infractions were actually at the high school, even though some of the reports made it sound like they were. It was not the high school, so that was good. I think we struggled a little bit with finding the appropriate staff members to still do the teaching. We relied on teachers who weren't really in that subject to teach and some subs. So that's a struggle, but we can work on that. The teachers who were there were very diligent. The record keeping was really on par. We have all the attendance records I can share with you of how many kids came, how often they missed, how many kids managed how many credits and all of that. So if you'd like to see those reports in detail, I can share them. Let me think if that was all. Any questions, I guess. Leave it at that.
How many students that 131 credits was in about?
We started out with, well, I'm gonna mess this up. I think it was 80 we started with, and at the end we had, I think, 67. That's also in the report. So we kept most of them. And I should tell you, it was all core subjects. We did not offer electives in summer school. It's just English, math, science, social studies. And they did different projects for the different topics. For instance, social studies had American government. Some kids earned that. Some had US history. Some had world history. And they did different units for those different subjects. So same with math. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson.
Good evening, Board Superintendent Burris. Just to give you a little background on our use of summer school over the past 2 years, the middle school has shifted, and it used to be just kind of students based off academic need. we shifted a couple years ago with kind of your approval to make it more an accountability piece for grade level promotion. And so our policy has stated that students who fail more than 3 classes of their semester classes or miss more than 25% of the school year will be required to attend summer school in order to be promoted. There is a threshold beyond that where we say if you've gone beyond that threshold, we're just going to retain you, frankly. And that's so with that, we went through that list at the end of the year. We had about 67 students who qualified that we invited. There was a handful of them that logistically they could not make. So we had about 62 students who were set to attend summer school. They attended. We had about 6 of them by the end that they kind of fizzled out and did not attend regularly or were excluded for some of the circumstances that Ms. Boniface referenced earlier. So we had a pretty good success rate with that. Of those 62 that attended, 46 of those students passed all of their classes, like not just completed them, but actually got passing grades in all of those classes. So that's a great success. That was greater than 75% of those students who had otherwise been failing. So we felt like that was a really good thing. We did end up retaining 3 of the students from the summer school that they just did not show growth or show a level of effort to be ready. And so that was kind of the policy that they would be retained. That is kind of a total. And I will say that that's been, from our perspective, a very effective tool for the middle school over the past 2 years. The first year that we did that, we saw our number of F grades reduced by over 50%. From the one year to the next when we had that retention policy in place. This being the second year, we saw that again reduced by 40%. So I do think that accountability piece has been very effective at the middle school by using summer school and that retention policy. Overall, I think it was very successful. Like was mentioned, we did have one day where there was just an outburst of some issues that was probably the downfall of the whole, the negative thing of the overall program, but we had a great summer, worked very well. We are very appreciative of the high school again with all that was going on to open up their building and share their air conditioning, which was very nice over the summer. And so we're very grateful. So, but I would open it up to any questions.
Yes, it should be noted, and Mr. Pearson alluded to this, is middle school, summer school was housed at the high school this year, and it has for the last couple of years due to construction issues going on at the middle school. So he and his staff uprooted and moved over there to make that happen. So it's kind of been an interesting experience or experiment. You've got high school in one hallway and middle school in the other hallway, and it seemed to work out so far.
I like the retaining thing because too long has been coming along that we've been just passing the kids along and not giving them, the right grades, because that gives them false hope when you pass them along and not help them earn those grades. When you earn those grades and you take that, self inside you to be better, but when you pass them along, that don't give them, hope. It just gives them false hope. But I like what you're doing, grades are going up in our community. I see it going up, more and more. I think that we maybe if you could more include that, say, hey, down in Toyac, we're getting more grades are going up down there, because we'd like to see that, the progress that's going on in the schools and stuff.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pearson.
Mr. Hyman.
Mr. Lehman has his paperwork ready.
I almost left it.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, school board, Mr. Burris. Guys, we had a lot of fun this year. The information that I handed to you in your packet is pretty much confidential. I didn't redact any of the students' names, but I wanted you to see how the individual growth happened. we had tested, well, let me just read and I'll go over the package in just a minute. We had summer school K-5, a really good community engagement night. We had more people attend the engagement night that we had. And the prizes were really simple: books, bookmarks, bingo. And we had more parents and students there than we actually had attending summer school. And I was pretty shocked. I think that was great. We had 16 kids with perfect attendance out of the 54 that attended. Reported data was K through 2 only for the grant. All grades showed growth. The end of the year data was used to compare the end of summer school data, which is in your packet. Phonemic segmentation, nonsense words, fluency, and word recognition were the 3 things that were tested. Basically, it was like giving a Dibbles test. The lady who ran it was Raylyn Braun. She was working on her type D, and she is finished with it. And this was kind of her last big hurrah to take over a program and take it from the beginning to the end. So, you know, all kudos go out to her. She was the one that did this. And talking to her about the Dibbles phonemic awareness, I can't even talk right now, segmentation, fluency. I asked her, why did we show like a negative 9.3% dip? And she goes, well, I'm taking that on me. I'm like, well, can you explain that to me? She goes, this is the first time for me doing this. I'm like, okay, I understand that. So right now she's basically fluent in testing kids in Dibbles. Coming from a 5th grade, going down and working with K1, 2 was one of her biggest fears, but I think it was pretty successful. And so kudos go to her. I asked her exactly what did we do for grades 3 through 5? And she said, we tested them on summer school assessments on comprehension and fluency. And she said there was growth there. So in your packet that you guys have, you'll see the individual students that had 100% attendance. And it was great to see. If you go to the last, it's kind of like almost to the middle where you see your green dot on your bottom. That'll give your individual scores for K through 2 in testing. This is our first year in a while that we use the St. Brain model. And I want to say thank you, Katie, for her staff helping us. Last year when we had our open house, or not open house, summer school, we were able to run it the way we did. We did a little bit different than what Kemper had to do. They were really strict. We were a little more open last year. So it was, I think, very successful. But I also want to say thank you, Katie, and letting us have some of your staff work for us. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than welcome to, happy to answer them. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lehman.
For letting us have this summer school. It made a big difference.
Yep.
The kids that came back this year, they're already, you know, I don't know, 10 steps ahead of the other kids. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Stock from Louis Ariola.
Evening, board. I hope everybody's doing well. We were able to kind of last minute pull together a summer school thanks to Mr. Ramirez finding some funding for Lewis, which typically isn't the case. So I'm looking at Mr. Parr, like in your tenure as principal, were you able to do a summer school? Yeah. So I think this really was kind of like the first time we attempted it. It was not part of the St. Brain grant though. So we had our own parameters to work with. We did just half day. We did from 8 to noon, whereas the in-town schools did full day. And I had less staff participating just because of our student numbers. So we targeted 13 students based on data at the end of the year for the summer school. We had our 2nd grade teacher do the reading group. So there were 2 groups. And she really, initially we just had 1. So we worked out a second part of the summer school where I taught math for the first couple of weeks. And then I had my kindergarten teacher take a week and then my 1st grade teacher take a week. So we were able to pull it together to get those 2 groups of kids through the reading program, since that's what we were targeting. We did Dibbles testing at the end of summer school. My interventionist did that and put it in my office as it was a mess because they were cleaning the carpet. So I don't have it and we couldn't access Dibbles last week. But what we do have is that our we focused on grades 1 through 4. And our grades 1 and 2, our goal was just to keep them reading because they are, so young and just learning that skill. So the Dibbles data said that they sustained where they were at the end of the year after 19 days of half days. And then the older students actually showed the most growth, which was amazing because a lot of those students had IEPs and really were struggling with reading. So that extra time really did help them. So I'm just thankful that we had the opportunity to do that because a lot of times we have to have our kids come into town because our numbers are so small. So thank you again, Mr. Ramirez. Anybody have 13? Yeah, we had 14, but I knew that person wasn't going to be able to stay. They had some family trips, but we got that kiddo in at the beginning and we just didn't test him because he wasn't there full time. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Salk.
All right. Lastly, our favorite Kemper principal, Mrs. Nelson.
That's the most positive introduction I've ever. So I'm gonna kind of reiterate a lot of what Robert said because we were working within the St. Brain grant. They do have some specific requirements that we have to follow. It is a literacy-based grant, so a lot of our day and a lot of our teaching practices were through the literacy lens. JC Gallagher was our facilitator. She does an excellent job. And then shout out to those teachers giving up their summers to come teach our kids. We also use Dibbles as the indicator of success. We took the end of year Dibbles data and then did an assessment at the end of summer school and saw significant growth in our kids. What I submitted in the board report was Mesa and Kemper combined because that's what we needed to report to the state. I do have Kemper specific data in showing significant growth up to 65% in some aspects of Dibbles. We served about 40 students. Our attendance rate was 86%. And we can only submit data of kids that were there 17 days or more. So some of that data had to exclude some kids that just didn't meet the attendance requirements. We also did a family bingo night like Robert said, and we had a lot of parents attend. It was a big success of getting those parents in there. We are very strategic of how we identify and invite kids for summer school, making sure that we are inviting students who need that extra support and time and that individualized instruction during summer. Any questions? Okay, good.
Thank you all for reporting that.
So just so you know, the Kemper and Mesa summer schools have been in a partnership with the St. Vrain School District from the Front Range. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but the district is near Fort Collins, basically. And they received ESSER funding or an ESSER grant to run a summer school program and invited us to be partners with them in that program. So reaching across the Rocky Mountains to work with us. Basically, the grant has paid for the bulk of what takes place in the summer school, which has been the reason that it's been, I think, successful to a certain degree and well received is it's been a good partnership and a great opportunity to get our kids some extra time in the seat that they might need for literacy instruction. Yeah, and this is the last year of that grant. So anything we do going forward, we would have to work on our own to make that happen. So. I do have a paper copy. Here you go. I might ask, don't dive into this just yet. I'm going to walk through this with all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thanks.
So what you're looking at before you is 2024, spring of 2024 CMAS data. Now, the state of Colorado embargoes this data from public release until the State Board of Education has had a chance to review it and authorize it. And today that embargo was lifted at 11 a.m. this morning. In past years or historically, it's not always lined up that well for us. And we've actually had to wait into September before we got some data, at least to share publicly. So this day actually has worked out well in this regard. Technically, we have had this information for a little while as it's released to districts early so that we can look at it internally and share it amongst staff so that we can start discussions around instructional practices that we might be looking at for adjusting. But what I'd like to do is go through this with you. There's a lot to absorb here, but at the same rate, I think it's worth our time just to at least look through these things and provide some explanation about what that looks like. And then if there's any questions at the end. So what you have in front of you is CMAS data and PSAT, SAT data. So we'll go ahead and get started. So the first page that you're looking at, this is grade level information around, it'll be the two content areas of English language arts and mathematics. The first page is English language arts. On the front, you'll see a graphic that has a line graph on it. The line graph contains two different lines. One is for state averages or state scores, and the second is for the RE1 district. Along the base of that graph contains the individual standards that were assessed on the CMAS for ELA in third grade. And then, of course, on the left-hand side of the graph going up is the average percent of points earned. Anytime we see an English language arts report like this, there's also going to be a bar graph on the right side that contains information around constructed response questions. So a construction response question basically is when the question may ask a student to explain something or provide deeper detail than just a multiple choice question. And there's a range of points that are provided there, and that bar graph details where the points were distributed for those questions. So the third grade is what you're looking at on the front side of this page. On the back side, if you'll look at that real briefly, it provides a distribution in the form of difficulty order from most to least difficult. And that refers to questions regarding those individual state standards. And the domain for those standards is listed on the right side. This takes place for ELA. So you have obviously reading and literature, informational text, language, and et cetera. So that's what those look like. So as you look at this particular graph for third grade, what you see is the trend line or the line for the state in blue and the line for RE1 in green. Now, I will say that this is third grade, so this is a combination of all schools. It's not isolated or picked any one, and this is the form that the state provides this data to us in. I will show you something once I'm through with this information that we have a tool that we have that helps us break it down a little further, but for our purposes here, that's a point that I just wanted to clarify. So all of third grade, you get an idea of each standard and how the district performed versus the state performance. And you can see that the trend line for RE1 has some waves in it a bit, but there's also, I think, some upward movement there that we can discuss or have further conversations about for that particular grade. So that's just third grade. I want to go through some more of these with you just so that we have an idea. The second page that you have is for mathematics for third grade. You'll see that there's a larger host of standards listed there across the bottom, and it's far more comprehensive or touches on far more than we saw with the English language arts assessment. So Again, blue is the state line and the green is the district line for third grade. So, and in similar fashion, on the back of this page, you'll also find the distribution of those questions and those standards across from difficulty order of most difficult to least difficult. The next one, obviously, we're going to go chronologically. So fourth grade is next. Similar fashion, this is fourth grade ELA. You've got the state line for state performance and then district line. And you do see some intersections there and some areas to work on. So basically what we would do is look at this data, whether it's third grade, fourth grade, all the way through eighth grade, and definitely try to highlight, obviously, the things that look like they're positives and are working well, and also look at the areas that we might need to shore up instruction or provide some improvement in. And that'll be an exercise that we are working on, not just now, but throughout the year in the form of PLCs and data meetings as we continue to do this all year long. This is not an individual act. This is just the beginning of the road for this work. So that is ELA for fourth grade. And then, of course, we have math for fourth grade next as well. Math does touch on, about 30, almost 30 standards where our ELA is not quite doing that much. But what I will say about ELA in comparison, we're not looking at the same standards each year as far as this test is concerned. So the standards that were tested last year, they might cross over, but not all of them do. So the ELA standards that we look at from 2023 on the state test may have some variance compared to the standards we look at for the 23-24 test. So that is by design of the state, and I would love to defend that, but I really can't. Next up is fifth grade ELA. And again, remember, these are all schools. This is not one school in isolation, but all of our schools. So we see the blue line for state and the district line. And I do want to note for our listening and in-person audience, the reason that we don't have graphics for these again was because the state just technically released this morning, and it was not available for public consumption. We will have this stuff available post this meeting when it can be put into the board docs from today's meeting. So it will be available. Following ELA for fifth grade, we have math. And then we move into middle school. The one thing that I do think is slightly unique about middle school, aside from a few students, and bear in mind, when I say all schools, this does also include our charter schools. So there's some charter school data that is involved here, but the numbers are not over the top significant that it pushes in any one direction, I don't believe. But as far as reporting goes, they are included in this. But one of the unique items for our middle school is this data is largely self-contained. They do have, there are some other middle school students at a couple of our charter schools, but not a large amount. So most of the data that you do see here is from CMS. And again, we have ELA as our first graphic with the constructed response questions on the right side and the distribution on the back. The next graphic is sixth grade math. We have seventh grade ELA. Again, blue is the state, green is the district. And seventh grade math. And in the last CMAS report that you'll see is eighth grade. At least from the state level, the last report is eighth grade ELA. And then again, eighth grade math.
Something I've noticed about these, Jim, is the lines that we have are getting closer to the state average lines. And the other thing that is true on most of these, there's exceptions, but all of the standards are all aligned and following that state line also.
Yes.
What that tells me in the stats of this is that we're teaching to state standards, we're watching the standards, we have data-driven instruction because the teachers are seeing this. There actually is a silver bullet to fixing where we were with testing, and it's, the lesson plans, the 2 grades a week, so the kids know formatively where they are, our interim assessments, the STAR assessments, and of course, doing what we're doing now. It's important that we look at this to see how our kids are doing. Without this, we're just shooting in the dark.
True. I do think that there's a strong correlation or a strong trajectory that we have taken off on, and you can definitely see that in these graphics. In the past, we've seen graphics that have just kind of been all over the place. And what this, to Mr. Burris's point, is this means, or this shows that we are working on these state standards, and instruction is being provided for students, and we're seeing some success there. It is obviously not a simple task, but it's one that once we get moving on, it's something that's pretty impressive to watch and to see all of the work that everybody's putting into this, to his point, some of the simple things just that are foundational aspects of teaching make this work happen. So there's some excitement in that work, and I'm curious to see where that takes us here shortly. And what I'm alluding to in that fact is that, and I'll get to more of the rest of this data, but the school performance frameworks are kind of the big thing that we look for each year. It basically gives each of our schools a rating, and it is a combination of a number of things. For third grade through eighth grade, the state looks at student achievement on state testing, and they look at student growth, and they combine those two into a formula, and ultimately it determines what a school's individual rating is. And if you'll remember from last time, we had some really positive movement in our ratings. So that data comes out for us next week, probably towards the latter part of the week, but we are keenly looking forward to see what those reports are. I think our upward trajectory on some of this CMAS data is hopefully a good sign for what may be down the road, but that is really where our individual schools and the district itself will find our ratings from the state at that point, and that'll be later next week, and those will be officially presented to the school board in September. But to carry on a little bit, I created a few more reports here that are in the blue. These are individual school reports for the breakdown of CMAS scores for Kemper, Mesa, and Lewis, just because we didn't have within this particular document, it's all just grade level. So I wanted to be able to break it out a little bit so you could kind of see how each individual school did. And this report, or these reports, this comes out of a program called Aubrey that we have adopted this year. And in a few minutes, I'm going to show you just to give you a little idea of what that looks like for us and some updates with that programming. But basically for each one of these reports that you have 3 years of state data as far as ELA and math go, and the different shades of blue indicate whether a school exceeded expectations, they met expectations, they approached expectations, they partially met expectations, or they did not meet expectations. And it gives you a kind of a percentage breakdown of what each one of those for each year, the students total in that particular area. So, the first one on top is Kemper Elementary, and you can get an idea of both ELA and math. ELA is on the top and math is on the bottom, and that provides you with a breakdown of that performance over those 3 tested years. And do note, following 2018, 2019 were the COVID years, so we had a couple of years where data was not available. The second of those reports is for Mesa, in similar fashion, set up exactly the same way.
Jim, these first 2 graphs, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what they're telling me is that Kemper is almost back to pre-COVID levels and Mesa is very close to pre-COVID levels. Is that what it's saying?
Yeah, and I think that's consistent with the state, actually. I don't know if anybody was saw any of the news reports today, out of the Front Range, but whether it's on Chalkbeat or even the Denver Post reported on state data, because it obviously came available today. And they were saying that statewide, you're seeing students move closer to pre-COVID levels, and in some cases exceeding them. But that is the trend throughout the state.
Yeah, you haven't touched on it yet, but Lewis Areola looks like they blew theirs away very much better than pre-COVID.
Yes, I don't like to give Principal Sock a big head about things, so I'm not going to go too deep into that, but yes, they did a fine job out there. All right, the last section of data, and I can see the glassy eyes right now, so I apologize for that. But the last section of data that I want to share with everybody is this is PSAT, SAT, and it's in the form of these larger reports, legal size letter pages. And what you see within these reports are the first page is PSAT 8 and 9. We only take 9th grade. 8th grade does not take PSAT. So the data that you see there will be the score distribution from 9th grade. We have district, state, and then all testers is national testers. So you have in the district, we had 159 testers. In the state, we had 57,787 testers, and nationally, there was 381,248 testers. And then what you see on the right side in the form of the bar graphs are the mean total. This gives you an idea of the average of those scores. So the top one in the district, the range is from 240 to 1440 being the highest score on PSAT. And the number on the far right that you see in that top bar is the 9th grade score for RE1. So that score is at 797. The national average was 879 and the state average was 879 and the national average was 861. As we drop down, the next area is reading and writing score. And a district score of 409, state average of 449, and national average of 440. And I apologize for how this particular document broke. It just it's a very bulky document, so I wanted to make sure that I got all the information to you. So you're going to see some front and back stuff, but just please bear with me on that. So if you go on to the back, you should see the math mean score for ninth grade still. District of 388, state of 430, and nationally 422. The next section just below that gives us a little more definition, and it highlights just MCHS with our overall score of 797. That is without SWOs involved in that particular score. So what's that?
Like that's down below. There's a combined in the school.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. And that one pops over onto the next page. So you're right. Sorry, Mr. Beckler. The score is actually 804 for MCHS. Then as we move into the next page, we're looking at 10th grade. In similar fashion, we have district, state, and all testers. District with an average score of 824, state of 916, and all testers 901 with a top end score for 10th grade of being 1520. Then again, we have it broken down further for reading and writing score, 422 for the district, 472 for state, and 462 nationally. The math score for the district 402, state score 444, and nationally 439. And then again, we break it into the more specific school district and the two high schools in the school district. So for the mean total score for MCHS, it was 828, and our SWO score was 788 out of 1520. Then the final piece of data that I'll share with you is 11th grade SAT scoring, performance by all students. Our district, again, broken down in the same way, district of 153 testers. The range is from 400 to 1600. District score was 881. State score was 976. And the national was 952. For math, reading, and writing, the district was 451. The state was 499. And the national was 485. Our mean score for math was 431. The state was 477. And nationally 466. And then again, we do break it out into the more specific, MCHS of 133 testers, the overall mean score was 893. And then we see the SWOT score there as well. So that's the bulk of the data. I'm sure it's not enough for you, but we will try to continue to provide you with data throughout the year as we go. I do have one more item that I want to share with you, and it's in the form of just giving you kind of a look at our new data warehouse system, Aubrey, so that you can kind of get an idea of what principals and admin can look at, and ultimately it'll get down to the teacher level. We're not quite there yet, but as systems become more online and more refined, this particular system really will help us refine this work and continue to work toward improvement. So bear with me as I get this screen shared. You there, Phil? So just so you know, I'm on the Zoom on my computer, so I'm trying to share the screen, and ideally we're going to get it up on the monitors here. It's not? No. Okay, well, maybe we'll save this for another time, but again, I hesitate to show, I don't want to do a half baked job of sharing this with you, because this is going to be an incredibly valuable tool for this work. We have tried and not been particularly successful in the past of having a quality data warehouse where data and information can be shared throughout the teaching ranks and administration and our principals, so that everyone is looking at the same things and working in the same direction. So we'll work out the kinks of being able to broadcast this with you, but it is something that, oh, I saw something there. Anyhow, so if you have any questions, that's the bulk of my report for this evening. You know, data is one of those things that there's a lot to drink in here. So if you would like to certainly take some time and look at it, and then also come back with future questions, we will keep that open as we go through. And like I said, at our next meeting, we'll be looking at school performance frameworks, so that we'll have an idea of where the district stands as far as ratings in the big picture. So looking forward to that.
Any questions for Mr. Parr?
Thank you for the presentation.
Okay.
Thank you. Very well.
Okay, at this time, I'm gonna kind of stop the meeting for a little bit because we have some something that we want to just do publicly. Mr. Sandner, he was actually having auditions tonight, and I'm sure that's where Cruz was as well. So I hope all of that went well. But we want to welcome Mr. Sandner, and he has been chosen as Colorado's Drama Teacher of the Year. And like I said earlier, I'm surprised you haven't received this multiple years. So we do have a few things for you. I don't know if Ed, you want to, oh, looks like Paul is going to present you with a little plaque there, a card, and a gift card from the board. Just to say thank you for all of your work and dedication and everything that you've done for our students and thespians. Yep.
Thank you all very much. We had over 100 people show up at auditions. So,
Oh, nice.
thank you for your flexibility and making this happen. And thank you for all of your support and everything we do. And thank you for all of their tremendous support over the years. So we hope you'll come see Beauty and the Beast in November.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you and all the hard work and dedication and just everything you've given to our students, our thespians, everybody. And it's just, it doesn't go unnoticed for sure. It's the talk of the town every time we wait to see what the next play or the next musical or the next improv, whenever it all is. So yes, thank you so much.
President Noyes, I just wanted to note in there that Angela Gibardi, the middle school teacher, is the one that nominated. And it's just very respectful that our staff would pay each other that respect.
Yep, well deserved. Very well deserved. And she's awesome too, by the way. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all for coming. Thank you. Mhm. All right, moving on to Executive Director of Human Resources Report, Mr. Schmidt.
Good evening, board and Superintendent Burris. Mike. Okay. I did submit a written report. I don't have anything to add. Is that better? Yeah. But I did want to take just a few minutes to just say that I'm honored to have been selected as the new executive director for the district. I appreciate the opportunity to return to the district where my career began in education. My first position in education was as a social studies teacher at the middle school here in Cortez. My wife and I have lived in the area for over 20 years, but together for almost 20 years. And we're raising our three children here, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to help improve the district any way that I can in the capacity of this new role. So again, I don't have anything to add to my report, but I will take any questions that there might be.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Schmidt? Okay, thank you and welcome. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so I wasn't able to open the one document, and I saw your comment that I might have been trying to read it when you were making a.
Oh, I think that was my comment.
Oh, okay.
Because I revised it.
Okay, sorry. Sorry.
Your document, my comment. Were you able to get into that document eventually?
No, as a matter of fact, I no longer saw it on the agenda after that, so I don't know what happened.
Okay, I have a hard copy. You can look at it during the meeting.
Justin, thank you for all you've done again. Being basically number 2 in the organization, you and I have had lots of conversations and a lot of very candid conversations about situations in the district, and that's the way it needs to be. So I appreciate what you brought and your knowledge and skills that you're demonstrating. Thank you.
Yes, welcome. Okay, we're moving on to the Executive Director of ESS reports, Lisa Meagle.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
I think so. What's going on?
I just hit it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did submit a real brief couple bullet points on my report. In special education, we've had some positions that have been open, and we've been excited to fill some of those positions. And a lot of people have worked really hard to do that. One of, I guess, an unanticipated event is that we have had a couple of
of our teachers not arrive yet. And as such, we've had to put other things in place. So we are getting those classes covered. We are still looking for those teachers to come. Providing all the support, so we have all the right people in place to do that. But we also understand it's not the same as having the actual teacher there. So we are going to be doing a very good job of meeting with those families as we go through the year when those teachers come in, and see if there's anything that we need to do to compensate for those services. So we want to make sure that students are still getting quality services. So I did prepare a letter for those families so that they are aware of that. And I have included, encourage people to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to them about what the plans are. It is not what we had hoped for in any way, shape, or form, but it also is something that I feel is very important, that the integrity is there. And so continue to share as we stand and make sure that there's integrity coming from my position as well as how we handle that. Let's see. We've had a lot of support from our staff, even our outgoing staff, to help prepare going into this year. So I'm very thankful for that. We also are building some capacity in the area of autism. We have some people that are willing to do some training, so we'll be able to do more support within district. We've always enjoyed the support of BOCES in the area of autism, but there's needs, and we want to make sure that we have more people trained within district. So that's an exciting next step for us as well. I'm trying to think here what else. There's a lot of training going on, so we're making sure that we're wrapping extra training around when we see needs, and as they pop up. Having new teachers and having different needs. We want to make sure that we're meeting all of those. And I've been thankful because we've also been providing training with our charter schools and collaborating there. So it's been nice, but I'm happy to see more of the collaboration. Anybody have any questions for me?
Any idea when those teachers will arrive?
Well, we anticipated that they would have been here the end of last week, and that just didn't happen. So we're still a little bit in that waiting game. And
I would just say it's not a perfect science. We don't have exact dates that are given to us by their sponsors, but we have attempted to expedite as many of those as possible through sending letters of urgency, requesting that their meetings for approval get done more quickly so they can make their travel arrangements and get here. What we've been told is that, and this was at the end of last week, is that we were looking at a couple of weeks for the ones that were the most recently hired. So we're anticipating any moment, but we don't know exactly a date.
So what I think I hear you saying is that you're having to work through at least one third party. It's not a direct contact.
No, we work with J1 exchange programs, so that they're sponsors, and so they do a lot of the background vetting, and they work with the consulates, and they do a lot of the work that we can't really do here. Attorneys, they engage with the attorneys, make sure everything's legal and things like that.
All right.
The ones that are here, how are they settling in? How are they getting along?
I actually think they're doing great. They're very happy to be here, and they are excited to be in the classroom. And the words they use is, "We're here to make a difference and to learn." So I think they're doing great. There's some differences, and I think we would have that more than just a difference in country, but differences coming from different places, having different computer platforms and expectations. So we're training them, and they're running, grabbing it by the horns, and they're running.
So what I'm hearing is that 3 weeks, right? Something like that, maybe tops, because it's already been a couple weeks with the kids not learning stuff or being with the teachers and stuff. So And so, like, what do you guys say in 3 weeks top, 4 weeks, or, so we'll actually know as a parent with, ESS kid?
Sure. So we do have substitutes in place and we are providing special education support to subs. So it's not that the students aren't getting their services, they're just not getting them from their teacher right now. So we're going to continue to work on that and make sure that we're making progress.
Okay, but I mean, that was just my question. Yeah, just like, I mean, not the dates, it's just, maybe 3 weeks out, kind of something like that, 2 to 3 weeks is kind of.
I wish I could give you an exact date. We're hopeful that it's within the next couple of weeks. When we do hear an exact date from the sponsors that each of those new teachers are working with, we can certainly share that with the board.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments for Lisa? Okay, moving on to board reports. Any board reports? Ed, you got anything for us?
Actually fairly short this time. We had a BOCES retreat last week over in Durango to work on a strategic plan. We had our regular meeting that evening over there. It was just a pretty basic agenda. I have a copy of the agenda here if anybody wants that and stuff, but had 5 new hires. One of the biggest things that they were working on was their lease agreement with RE-1 for the building use that they have out there at the warehouse building. And we're going to have a special meeting next Wednesday to approve that lease. It's all completed now through their attorney and everything too. So that'll be completed next week.
Anyone else? Anything?
I can report that the people, the directors that said they're going to the CASB convention are registered. And then I've talked to everyone individually and everyone's registered for the regional meetings that they plan to attend.
Thank you for doing all that, Deborah.
Sure.
So this Saturday is the policy summit that's being put on by Colorado Leaders for Academic Success, and I'll be attending that. It's in Colorado Springs. I wanted to also bring up, I'm on another board with one of the high school golf coaches, and he asked me to let the board know that this year the Cortez High School is hosting the AAA Regional Championship here in Cortez. And so Cortez is in Region 1 of 4 different regions. There's apparently a total of 52 schools in all. And the regional championship is scheduled for September 30th. And he's asking if the board members would be willing to come out and show support for Cortez during the tournament. So,
yes, thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Yep. I think we've been trying to get that done for a while. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a Monday, September 30th, right?
30th, yeah.
Will you send us?
Any other board reports? Okay.
Rhonda, do you want a calendar invite for that? I can send you guys a calendar
I was just going to say, if you want to put that out there.
Would that work?
Good idea.
Yeah.
I appreciate your thoughts.
Okay. Well, we will move on to citizens address the board. We have a 1 hour limit, 3 minutes each, must turn in a filled out ticket prior to the meeting. Okay. Hey, Deb, are we ready with the timer?
I'm ready when you.
Okay. All right, Susan Kremnitz.
Hello? Susan Chemnitz Cortez. And I wanted to address the board about the performance of our superintendent. Because the last meeting I went to, I heard a lot of, and I was looking at the actual performance of the schools. And I'm like, our progress is just off the charts, I think. Because for years I looked at what was going on and it's like all the graphs are going down. And now all of a sudden everything's getting much better. And I think that takes leadership. And so I think that the superintendent is doing pretty good. And if any citizens want to know about that, all you have to do is go and look on the board docs and look for that RE1, the actual student achievement, and it will show you. I also wanted to speak to the issue about teacher retention, and it seemed like people were blaming the school board and the superintendent for that. And if you actually look, our entire state is having trouble getting teachers. And the other thing is that what people don't realize is that as a community, I only hear part of the story. I don't get to see what goes on in those exit interviews. We aren't allowed to see that. And that would help if we could see that. But all I hear is the negative things. The other part that I wanted to say is that there was a comparison to the prior superintendent. And oh my God, that's really bad. I'm like, that person did a horrible job. And so how can you possibly compare those two? It's also ingenuous when the district has really improved like this and we hear people saying, oh, he's doing such a bad job. But I did want to say that, as much as I think that the superintendent is doing a very good job, I also want to commend the school board. I also want to commend all the principals. You guys are awesome. All of you, it's a team and you're doing so good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. Okay. MD McAfee.
Thank you. It's MB McAfee. I live out at Lewis. I was trying to take quick notes while Jim gave his report, particularly about PSAT and ACT scores. And I figured out I'm going to have to live a very long time before I see what is apparently an upward trend, slightly upward trend from the elementary grades to have that progress show in better ACT and PSAT scores. It sounds like we're still really low on that front. So I don't suppose I'll be able to stand here in 15 years and say bravo, because we're above state average on PSAT. I'd love to, but chances are I won't be around, or I'll be so feeble I won't know if I should say that or not. One other thing, and I've asked this several times, probably over the last 3 years I've been coming to school board meetings. I ask this every other time. It seems to me that the HR director can at least make a report on how many vacancies there are, how many recent hires there are, and that sort of thing. So I'm very baffled why that can't be made public, just that. It seems like that would be a general statement that the HR director would be able to make. Thank you.
Thank you, MB. JJ Lewis. Sherry Wright.
Good evening, board. I'm Sherry Wright. I am a past board member. I just want you to know that because I am a past board member, I have a lot of community members talk to me. And I want to tell you my answers that I give them. And the first one is, why are you firing so many teachers? And I can tell you, I tell them we are not firing teachers. If they choose to quit, they choose to quit. They said, well, what about? And I'm going, you know, we cannot fire a teacher without documentation and offering them different ways, improvement plans, a lot of things. You cannot just walk up and say, hey, I don't like what you've done. You're fired. So as a board members, you need to know that I am supporting you and I am there with you and I'm doing everything in my power to help you. As far as the community, it breaks my heart to hear the community attack Mr. Burris the way they do. I want to tell you that since we had the first superintendent that I worked under was Bill Thompson. And boy, let me tell you, he held teachers' feet to the fire. I know, I was a teacher. And boy, did he hold me down. After he retired, we had superintendents come in that did not do their job. They let teachers have their way. So when Mr. Burris was hired, I was on the board and our direction was follow policy, enforce the rules, and do your job. He has. So if you don't like what he's doing, don't listen to the negative. Do not, because it's not true. He is improving these schools and he's doing his best to help. And his salary is not out of reason. If you have concerns about that, I can tell you a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Chris, I would like to give you an opportunity to give a report if you have one. Okay. No, that's okay. I just thought it would give you that opportunity. I know you had auditions today, so. Yeah, yes. Okay.
We're all gonna, lots of kids showed up. So.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you. Moving on to discussion items, board discussion.
Madam President, I'd like to jump in and just say that in Justin's HR report, which is on board docs, 39 licensed employees have been hired, 24 foreign national teachers, 12 new non-licensed employees, 12 long-term subs. We have 12 positions open, 3 counseling positions, 7 coaching positions, and 9 classified. Those are in his notes to the board.
And I will just throw in there that we do not have any classrooms that do not have a teacher in them at this point, correct? Okay, nothing's changed since your report? Okay.
That report that Mr. Burris was
Yes.
under executives, that could be under public.
Yes, it could.
Okay.
Since there are no names there or anything, that this could be a public report. He has 2 pieces that he provides, and that is this piece that I just read off of, and then the piece with the teacher names.
If it's okay with the board, we can review it tomorrow and move it to the public side after we've double checked it.
Okay.
Anybody have anything else they want to discuss? Nothing, Leland? Okay. Side of the bench. Nobody, anything? Okay, all right. Okay, we will move on to the mill levy override effort, resolution and ballot wording.
Madam President, I received this ballot wording from our legal counsel and it will need to be read and approved.
Do we want to have you, Mike, read that resolution
So.
or the wording of the ballot?
So in terms of a resolution, I'm not sure how the procedure would be. Does the resolution get read first and then a motion after that and then discussion? Is that correct?
Well,
So this is just a
up for
discussion
motion.
item. This is
Oh,
just
it's
a discussion right now. Yeah.
Okay, so just reading the resolution is all that needs to happen before discussion.
Mr. Lynch, you'll see this as you read it. We've set this up for a vote on September 3rd. So if it's good with President Noyes, we would need to make September 3rd a special session to allow for a vote on this.
It's due actually September 5th. 6th.
Are we ready?
Mhm.
Resolution, a resolution calling an election on November 5th, 2024, authorizing a ballot measure for a mill levy override, setting the ballot title and content for the ballot measure, and providing other matters relating thereto. Whereas Montezuma-Cortez School District RE-1 in Montezuma County, Colorado, the district, is a duly organized and validly existing school district, political subdivision, and body corporate of the state of Colorado, in parentheses, the state. And whereas the Board of Education, in parentheses, the board, has determined to request an increase in tax support for the purposes identified in the ballot issue set forth in Appendix A hereto. And whereas pursuant to Colorado Revised Statutes 22-54-108, school districts may seek voter approval for the authorization of additional local revenues. And whereas the election shall be conducted as a coordinated election in Montezuma County in accordance with Articles 1 to 13 of Title I, Colorado Revised Statutes as amended, in parentheses, the Uniform Election Code. And whereas the clerk and recorder of Montezuma County, in parentheses, the county clerk, is the coordinated election official for the election pursuant to the Uniform Election Code and is responsible for mailing the notice of election required by Article 10, Section 23B of the Colorado Constitution, in parentheses, the Tabor Notice. And whereas the district will assist the county clerk in providing necessary information and notices for the conduct of the election. And whereas the board has determined to set the ballot title and content for the ballot measure to be submitted at the election called by this resolution. Therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education of Montezuma-Cortez School District RE-1 in Montezuma County in the state of Colorado. 1. An election shall be held on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024, parentheses, the election date, at which there shall be submitted to the eligible electors of the district a ballot measure which shall be in substantially the form attached hereto as Appendix A. 2. For purposes of Section 1-11-203.5 Colorado Revised Statutes, this resolution shall serve to set the ballot title and content for the ballot measure set forth in the appendix hereto. Appendix A is hereby incorporated into this resolution as if set forth in full herein. 3. Deborah Ramsey is hereby reaffirmed as the designated election official responsible for the running of the election of the district. The designated election official is hereby authorized and directed to proceed with any action necessary or appropriate to effectuate the provisions of this resolution and comply with the Uniform Election Code, Article 10, Section 20 of the Colorado Constitution, and other applicable laws and election rules. 4, not later than 60 days before the election date, parentheses, Friday, September 6th, 2024, the designated election official shall certify a copy of the ballot measure set forth in Appendix A hereto to the county clerk in accordance with Section 1-5-203 Colorado Revised Statutes. If the district refers more than one ballot measure to the voters at the same election, parentheses, whether by this resolution or one or more other resolutions, close parenthesis, the order of the measures on the ballot shall, as provided by the rules of the Secretary of State, be as follows. First, measures to increase taxes. Second, measures to retain revenues in excess of the district's fiscal year spending limit. Third, measures to increase debt. Fourth, other referred measures. Number 5. No later than 43 days before the election date, parenthesis, Monday, September 23rd, 2024, close parenthesis, the designated election official shall submit the notice of election required by Article 10, Section 20, 3B of the Colorado Constitution to the county clerk in the form, if any, specified by the county clerk. Thereafter, at least 30 days before the election date, parenthesis, Friday, October 4th, 2024, the county clerk is to mail at the least cost the notice required by Article 10, Section 20, 3B of the Colorado Constitution to the registered voters of the district. 6, no later than 20 days before the election date, parenthesis, Wednesday, October 16th, 2024, the designated election official shall cause a notice of election to be published, parenthesis, if not otherwise published by the county clerk, and no later than 10 days before the election date, parenthesis, Friday, October 25th, 2024, close parenthesis, such notice shall be posted in the office of the designated election official in accordance with Section 1-5-205 Colorado Revised Statutes. Number 7. As provided in Section 1-1-106 Colorado Revised Statutes, if the state constitution or a state statute requires doing an act no later than or at least a certain number of days prior to the election date, the period is shortened to and ends on the prior business day that is not a Saturday, Sunday, or legal holiday. 8. If a majority of the votes cast on the ballot measure submitted at the election shall be in favor of such ballot measure, the district acting through the board shall be authorized to proceed with the necessary action to levy taxes in accordance with the approved ballot measure. Any authority to levy ad valorem property taxes, if conferred by the results of the election, shall be deemed and considered a continuing authority to levy the taxes so authorized at any one time or from time to time, and neither the partial exercise of the authority so conferred nor any lapse of time shall be considered as exhausting or limiting the full authority so conferred. 9. The officers and employees of the district are hereby authorized and directed to take all action necessary or appropriate to effectuate the provisions of this resolution. 10. All actions not inconsistent with the provisions of this resolution heretofore taken by the members of the board and the officers and employees of the district and directed toward holding the election for the purposes stated herein are hereby ratified, approved, and confirmed. 11. All prior acts, orders, or resolutions or parts thereof by the district in conflict with this resolution are hereby repealed, except that this repealer shall not be construed to revive any act, order, or resolution or part thereof heretofore repealed. 12. If any section, paragraph, clause, or provision of this resolution shall be adjudged to be invalid or unenforceable, the invalidity or unenforceability of such section, paragraph, clause, or provision shall not affect any of the remaining sections, paragraphs, clauses, or provisions of this resolution, it being the intention that the various parts hereof are severable. Number 13, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon its passage, adopted and approved. It says this third day of September, which is in the future.
And then the appendix is attached.
And is it necessary that that be read as well?
I think that's the important part.
Okay. Appendix A. I'm sorry.
This is the question.
Yeah. Appendix A, form of the ballot issue. Montezuma-Cortez School District RE-1 ballot issue, override. Shall Montezuma-Cortez School District RE-1 taxes be increased 2.4 million in 2024 for the collection in 2025 and annually thereafter by whatever amounts are raised from an override mill levy imposed at a rate of 3.9 mils for the purpose of improving student outcomes by increasing the salaries of educators and professionals, including attracting qualified teachers and paraprofessional staff by raising base salaries closer to the market averages for surrounding school districts, and reducing turnover and retaining qualified teachers and paraprofessional staff by funding salary increases. An independent citizen review committee to monitor and report to the community to ensure the taxes are used for the purposes identified in this ballot measure, which taxes shall be deposited into the general fund of the district, shall be in addition to the property taxes otherwise authorized to be levied for the general fund, shall be subject to state laws, regulations, and district policies for accountability and transparency, and shall constitute a voter-approved revenue change. And then there's a place for those who voted yes and those who voted no.
Thank you, Mike, for reading all of that. Okay. So at this point, if there's any other change that we want, we would need to report that. Okay, okay. So if it, read it over, check it out, see if there's any changes you want to make and turn those in. Okay. Any other comments, questions on the mill levy?
I sent an email to the superintendent, the president of the board, the vice president of the board, and some of the people involved in writing this. I have concerns about the wording. In particular, this wording, in my opinion, does not limit the money to be spent on teachers and teachers' aides only. It says educators, and to me that is too broad, and it's different than the survey that we sent out, which was specifically for teachers and teachers' aides or paraprofessionals. So I have a huge concern about that. I'm also concerned about the wording used at the top, because it might be misunderstood that the district has the ability to change the amount of money that is paid in taxes each year. It's not, I don't think the wording is clear enough to show that the mills are set, but the appraised values change, and therefore the amount of money that's brought in is changed over time. The first year being this estimate of 2.4 million. And so I think it's possibly confusing and should be changed or edited. And my last concern is in regard to the final paragraph that talks about an independent citizen review committee. In my opinion, it needs to be done by an independent auditor. A citizen review committee may not be able to determine whether the monies have been used properly or not, but I think an auditor could. And so I would like to see that involve an auditor who sets it up in the beginning, and then our regular audits every year after could take on that duty of checking to make sure that the district is complying with applying those monies to only salaries of teachers and teachers' aides, and is not in fact supplanting the let's see, I don't want to use the wrong wording, not allowing the district to take in money for those salaries and then move money that's already going to those salaries somewhere else because they've got a dedicated source for those salaries. So that's a third concern of mine.
Amen.
Okay, yep. So we'll just turn on, because we did get that email. And so anybody else that has anything else, we can kind of put those, because I see a couple of my notes were in there as well. Okay. Okay, policy discussion ACA, ACA-R, and ACA-E, non-legal name change for students. Okay.
So can I make an introduction for those?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, Mike.
So these, this is a set of 3 policies. It's the policy ACA, the regulation for ACA, and exhibit for ACA. These are the first ones to come out of the policy advisory committee that was established a while ago. And so what that works out to be is I'm the only board member on that committee. We look at the policies that come before us. I solicit the feedback, input, recommendations, and advice from the members of that committee, which I believe if I remember correctly, there's 8 members now. And then I take their recommendations and I bring that to the board. The last step in that is where I send what we've come up with to our attorney and let him give his comment and recommendations. And that occurred with this set of policy, regulation, and exhibit. And he pointed out some things that he was suggesting. We made those changes, and therefore this is the result of that process. And the board can edit as you may desire. But anyway, this is the informational period, so you know now how it came about. Also, by the way, this policy is a result of the statutes that were, I think they were passed last year, weren't they?
This past spring.
This past spring. So this was due July 1st. So we're a little bit late, but it is required by the state statutes. And that's why it was developed.
Probably one of the biggest things that we wanted to make sure and have in this policy that was not in that legislation was parental rights. So And that is addressed in our policy now, because that was not in the legislation. So.
And that was a priority of mine. And so I'm hoping that the wording is such and the requirements are such that parental rights are honored.
Definitely.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mike, for that. Yeah, any suggestions, changes, just get those turned in and try to get those policies behind us and work on some more. So, all right, looks like we're moving on to action items. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second. Online voting is now available. Don't think that Mr. Collins is in. Mr. Collins, did a vote pop up for you?
No.
It didn't know that you were here. How do you vote, Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, action item B, superintendent's contract revisions. Can I get a motion?
Madam President. Madam President, I know there's been some angst from some community members who are present tonight about a part of my contract that talks about 140 days per year. That was in place from PARA because I am a PARA retiree. Those 140 days are contact days that I spent in the district, and there were other days that were non-contact days. Anyway, I worked with Barbara McLaughlin, our representative from Durango, and she passed legislation this year that eliminated that 140-day restriction. So since this has been a point of contention and since it has been eliminated, I would be okay with and encourage that the board approve striking the piece of my contract that says the district will compensate the superintendent for loss of retirement income in the event he works over the allotted 140 days per year. The district will provide the pay for the superintendent for loss of retirement income in the event he works over the allotted 140 days per year per parent.
Can I get a motion to approve the contract revisions?
I'll make a motion to approve the contract revisions. Second.
Who was the second? Thank you, Mr. Hayes.
Mr. Ed.
Are we discussing?
You can have a discussion if you'd like.
So I'm sure everybody in the room and on Zoom knows this, but in order to make a change on a contract, the board can't do that unilaterally. All the parties of the contract have to agree with that. And since that's the case here, it's not the board telling Mr. Burris what he's going to have. It's an agreement that is being agreed to by all the parties of the contract.
So are you saying we have to have a unanimous vote?
No, I'm not.
No. Just a majority.
And I do agree. Reaffirm that I do agree.
I guess what amazes me the most is that it took so long to get legislation through to push PARA to get this dropped. It was dropped for teachers years ago, but not administrators. So.
Online voting is now available. Motion passes unanimously.
Action item C, section of CASB voting, selection of CASB voting delegate. Can I get a motion?
Madam President, I have a question. Is it correct that the board has until September 20th to do this?
I am not sure on the dates.
The deadline for submitting voting, yes.
Yeah.
That's what it shows. Mhm.
So it's not something that has to be done this evening? Is that correct?
Well, we can always add it to our special meeting next month. But I think we'd have to do it prior to, let's see here, I'll get to my calendar.
I'm just saying that there's no pressure. If we already know who it's going to be, then
September
we could
17th.
do it tonight.
So okay. Yeah. But yeah, we could still do it at our next board meeting as well, because that's the 17th. So.
And it doesn't look like there's a lot of selection there. It just says school board presidents or secretaries, so I think that's pretty straightforward, huh?
I might add that this secretary is got way too much on his plate.
Well, I think, isn't this just so they can vote up at, I think this is for voting up at CASB.
It is.
It's just one little meeting that you attend.
Miss
It's
Wright,
for voting at the delegate
Yeah.
assembly.
Yeah.
Miss Wright, you were our voting.
It only needs to be a board member, but there will be resolutions when the rest of the board has to agree.
And that meeting is October 19th and 20th, I believe, or something, or 18th and 19th in Pueblo. So.
So what are we gonna do, guys?
So if we're not gonna vote on it, we just need to postpone it.
Yeah.
Table it until the September meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we will table action item C till the September regular
We
meeting.
need a motion and a vote on that to table it. Go ahead, just move the table until the.
I'd like to make a motion to table it to September 17th.
Mhm.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right.
And a vote.
Looking to make sure it pops up on your vote. Does it say to table? Yeah. Online voting is now available. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay. All right, I will adjourn this meeting at 8:19. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. 19. I lost my screen. I couldn't get my number.